Hey, this is Dave from the Shepherd School, and what we're going to do today is we're going to use some of that wheat that we ground just a little bit ago. What we're going to make is some hardtack, or pilot bread, or shit biscuit, or teeth breakers. You know, it depends on who you're talking to, what it's called. Basically, all this is flour, water, and salt made into a dough, rolled out into a thick cracker, and then baked until it's hard. Now, lots of different people mess with this recipe and will add oils and eggs and all sorts of stuff, trying to increase the nutrients. But the reason that hardtack has been so popular and used, you know, in the navies, you know, the old ironclad, you know, sailing ships, they used it for hundreds of years. In the Civil War and pre-Civil War rations, it lasted for hundreds of years. The reason that it was used so much is because it's just flour and water and salt and there's no oil in it, it doesn't go bad, right? If you store it away from any kind of bugs, moisture, you know, don't let it get moldy, you know, this stuff will last for basically ever, right? Now, because it's a very, very hard cracker, it's not really something that you're going to enjoy just taking a bite of. It can break your teeth. So historically, what they used it for is soldiers would dip, you know, would break it up and put it in their morning coffee, or use it to make stews. You know, you could probably bust it up and return it into flour and probably try to make something out of it that way. It's used a lot nowadays for like Civil War reenactors. But basically, 2 cups of flour, 2 teaspoons of salt, and a cup of water, and you can make those ratios larger or smaller depending on how much you want to make. And it doesn't have to be exact, but you want to stick with it pretty close. Now, right now we've got the oven on about 375, preheating. Can you get some more flour, please? Just going to knead this up. Thank you. I like this. Not for the taste, because it's so simple. You know, if you can make paste out of flour, you can make this stuff. There's no rising and kneading and all that stuff that you've got to do. Okay. Now you want to roll this out to pretty thin, about a 1/4 inch or so. It's not going to rise because there's no yeast or baking powder on it. But you do want it to have a consistent depth. You don't want pockets of moisture. And you don't have to make it any particular shape. Most of the ones for reenacting are rectangular. But kind of want to make it at least a little pretty. This doesn't have to be whole wheat flour. You could use processed flour and give it more of a consistency what you're used to eating. And basically in the cooking process what you're doing is just driving the moisture out. Because as we talked before on our dehydrating episode, water is one of the threats to storage. Now we're going to poke some holes in it to assure that it cooks evenly throughout. If you like my wife's ringtone, you should hear some of mine. I've got Gomer Pyle USMC for a ringtone, which really bugs some of my coworkers, but oh well. So we're just going to stick this in the oven. It's going to cook about 30 minutes. You want to flip it. You want to make sure that it doesn't burn, but you're trying to cook it long enough to make sure all the moisture is driven out. So we're going to put this in the oven, we'll pull it out, and we'll let you see what it looks like. Okay, so we just took them out of the oven, 30 minutes on one side, flipped them 30 minutes on another. When they first come out of the oven, sometimes they're a little soft. If that's the case, just cook them a little longer because you want them cracker-like. And as these things cool, they will get harder. Now, I know these are ugly as all get out. If we use processed flour, it would be a lot more like a cracker. But since we use some home ground wheat, it is a little rough looking. But stored where they can't get wet, airtight, maybe put them in a mason jar with a vacuum seal or a vacuum sealed bag. These things will last about forever. But you can see they're pretty hard, so soak them before you eat. You can always catch us on our blog at tandgun.com. Thanks.